Sheila, it's always a pleasure and an honor to have you on your wealth of information. It's Veterans Day. It's perfect that we're going live together because you honor veterans so much. We all appreciate that. So thank you so much for your service and supporting and helping veterans.
It's such an honor and such an honor to be on with you on this day, 11/11. 11 means war. We could go into that too. Yeah, the Warriors Battlefield Strategy Devotional. And everybody said, "Why did you put the word strategy? That's not the right word." I said, "Well, Father gave it to me because if we don't know how to strategize with him, we're going to be in deep trouble." And so when he gives it to me, he gives it to me. And that's the way it is. So.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've been using this. It's a fantastic book, and it gives me a lot of insights, and I appreciate what you've done with that.
Well, it's funny because it's all Hebrew. So when I did the new book and you told me about the Hebrew calendar problems, it has problems, but the Gregorian has so many problems. And he
Oh, yeah.
said, "That's why I did that with you in the devotional." I'm like, "Well, what did I do in Hebrew in the devotional?" you know, and he had to remind me we only did 1 through 7 more than 52 times, but we can't do a 13-month calendar of 4 weeks of 28. None of that works. So I'm working on combining and our good friend, I gave him stacks of information on all this to put it through his mind. It's just let him put it through his meat grinder and put sift it all out and see what happens. But what I gave to him is because I'm not trying to choose, but I don't want to be on a calendar with names of gods and goddesses for the months and the days of the week. I don't want to be living there because that keeps us stuck where we are. It's just like that 1607. I've been going over the 1607 covenant because people think that's better than the Pilgrims, but the Pilgrims knew we had to get away from England, and Americans never knew we were never away from England the whole time until President Trump in 2017, which he reconfirmed in September when he went there. So if we don't understand how to come out of the mess and help each other come out of the mess, and unity is what you focus on all the time, we don't have a prayer because this evil has been so organized and they keep thinking that it's just a few of the past presidents. So we can get into that today if you want to, because nobody realizes 41 wasn't able to be a candidate. 42 is questionable about his father. Was he able to be a candidate for president? 43, son of 41, wasn't qualified. Jeb Brand, too, he wouldn't have been qualified. So it's not just Obama. The takeover of America, this evil, guys, it goes all the way back to the very beginning of the world. It goes all the way back to the garden. And we haven't had people go, "Why didn't this get cleaned up before?" When did we have this level of communication, this level of technology, this level of, and yes, the Aztecs and Mayans had some kind of computer process. I get it. I hear that all the time, but they didn't have the communication process. They didn't have the ability to get together with each other like we are and fighting through this. I mean, what you've been through, taken off of this platform, taken off of that platform, deplatformed here and there. It's just, and it's like a whack-a-mole game that we've been living in. So I'm so excited each time we come on together, and the feedback on these interviews is just so powerful, Michael, because, and I'm so excited that book is a blessing to you. Um,
Really is. Yeah.
General Flynn, it was Nation Restoration. He wanted a second edition. I'm going to try and get it out this year, but I don't know if I can get it done by the end of the year, but I'm working on that. But it is such an honor to me that someone like you, who's fought this hard for our country, gets that much out of that warrior's battlefield, because we are on the battlefield and acting like we're not. That's where we are.
Yeah, what I like about it is, there's something new every day that you read, and then you write down your insights and what you've gained and so forth, and it's an ongoing process. So you start to look deeper inside yourself that in ways that I thought I was already well informed as far as like my internal workings, but this has really opened me up in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I definitely appreciate it. So we have Ma'am Donnie that's taken over New York, or will, I guess, January 1st, maybe. I don't know. There's seems to be a big movement to restrict him from actually getting there. You talk about people that past presidents that really probably shouldn't have been there. They didn't fit the bill. Mamdani seems to be in that same category, but still we see these people continually getting these positions of power. And it's definitely crazy because we have a communist, basically, Islamist communist that's going to be in the nation's capitalist capital. So I don't understand, how this has come about. It's really disconcerting.
There's a really good chance he isn't even an American. It's just a really good chance that he's not
Yeah.
even American, because what they're saying now is he's absolutely not. I haven't seen the documents, so have you seen anything on the documentation for him? But it sounds like he has no he has no rights to even be here. He isn't even legally in this country. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. President Trump's been very, very specific about it, saying that we don't have to worry that it'll be taken care of, because the law is the law.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of different laws that may be stacking up against them. Communist law of 1954. So you can't run in a communist position. I think that would probably take out most of the Democrat Party, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. So there's a strong chance that he'll get in there and everything will fall apart. Does New York have to suffer that? I'd hate for it to happen, but they're the ones that basically stood up and voted for him on more than 50% of the population. So it may be a learning curve that they're going to have to go through to wake up. What are your thoughts?
Well, after President Trump just did the executive order, they didn't do everything lawfully in their elections. And this isn't even an election year. This is, but did you see all the states that had elections this year? But it's so amazing that the executive order just came out and nobody watched what was happening. And now I've asked people and they go, we don't vote this year. Oh, no, it's every other year. And they call it a midterm, but Congress used to only have 2 years to be in. And all the Congress reps had 2 years.
Yeah.
And the senators were selected by the Congress reps for the two best ones to represent the state. And
Wow.
now the entire House and Senate have become global people traveling all over the world on our dime, making all these negotiations all over the world, which isn't even their job. And when it was two of the Congress reps that went to the Senate, you could pull them and replace them with somebody else if they didn't represent your state well. So all of this was changed by Woodrow Wilson, and they're on a 6-year term, and House is on a 4-year term. That was never how it was set up. Never how it was set up. I'm already getting questions about, why are you saying these people didn't qualify for president? I said, you can't correct the voter registration for the elections if you don't correct the voter registration qualifications. You can't just accept someone's money and put them on the ballot. And that's all they've been doing. It's accepting their money, accepting their application, and putting them on the ballot. And it's a funny thing about president, because you can, if you're a legal American, you can be in any of these other positions, but you cannot become a president unless your parents were American born Americans, still Americans, um, not changing their residency, not having dual residence, which we're dealing with, gonna have to deal with all of that too. Um, that has to be. There's a funny story, and it's a true story. Professor said, asked if people, wanted to run for president and blah blah blah, because the thing you need to remember is you have to be natural born. And a woman was in tears in a classroom, and the professor asked her what the problem was. And she goes, I was born cesarean, so I wasn't natural born. You mean I can't run for president? And I thought, oh my God, but if voter registration doesn't even understand who'd put on the ballot, look at where we are. And they're the ones that are supposed to know, and they're supposed to make sure people are qualified. But seriously, I've seen that in California, this happened for a long time. I mean, there was some strange people. I keep pictures of all the candidates for president ever since Trump got involved, because it's all over the map on people trying to challenge him, and several of them are not qualified. Jeb Bush wasn't qualified. Ted Cruz wasn't qualified. Ted Cruz's dad helped Castro become Castro in Cuba, and then after he did that, he went to Canada, and then his wife was from America, but she let go of her American citizenship to become a Canadian to marry him and live in Canada, and then they had Ted. So Ted is Canadian born himself. It's just We just have not been on top of the ball. Just have
Yep.
not been on, but we trusted people. We trusted a lot of people. And that's something we might want to think about getting into today is about the Bureau of Investigation, because none of these bureaus are legal either. None of them are per our Constitution. These were all set up by international people who came into America and set all this up.
Hmm.
So it's not just that it's evil, it's a system that the pilgrims got away from because they watched them groom the children. And that's why that devotional became so critical. I didn't understand. It came out like days before the 15-day lockdown back in 20. And what God said is, you got to show my people, because the children were groomed in the church and in the school, set up in the same structure with evil intent in the background of how these were all set up and all these different religions and everything. So if we don't bring people to the truth in actually who they are and whose they are, then we're not going to be able to get through this, because these evil people have done the same stuff all over the world to all the different nations. It's just we were a much bigger nation. We've been harder for them to deal with. But since we've been a corporation, we've been the world order in America out of Charleston, South Carolina, since the same 1871, by all these people who set all of this craziness of all these societies up. It was all it just the flow of this was so steady and so pervasive. How are you going to get ahead of it? And this is the first time in all of history, that we're facing all of these things. And this Bureau of Investigation was set up with special agents by Napoleon's great nephew, Charles Joseph Bonaparte. And when he did that, he was only there for a little bit setting up the special agents. And then J. Edgar Hoover comes in, who doesn't have any background in America. His dad is Germany. His mom is Switzerland. There's no history on this family, none whatsoever. He comes in, and at the age of 26, this guy comes in and becomes a director. And he's the director for 48 more years after being assistant to the director of the Bureau of Investigation for 3 years. So 51 years he's running our country. So
Hmm.
investigating Americans. There isn't any history on investigating illegals. And I prove that in Nation Restoration. And that's why I mentioned that might be of interest today, too, because they wouldn't arrest the illegals. But boy, if you use a citizen social security number and you happen to be a legal American, you're in jail that night. It's automatic jail time for a legal American, but the illegals still aren't being arrested. But that's the whole setup. J6, same thing. Didn't arrest the people who caused it, arrested the people who were just there, who had to try and deal with it. But they were legal Americans, and a good number of them strong military. So I'm just so honored to be on with you today on this day of honoring military, because we sent them all over the world to protect everybody, and they came home and their families were in jeopardy. I just Their children in CPS. I mean, just the things that have happened to our soldiers' families. It's I want to say some of it's unforgivable. I know we're supposed to forgive everything, but some of this is really horrific, what
Yeah.
they've done.
So, I mean, you talked about, presidents that were not legitimate. So I've had people on my show that gave really good insights in that George H.W. Bush was born in Germany to a German parents, and then the Bush family basically, adopted him or took him in. So there's,
Okay, I can correct that. Are you ready?
yeah, oh yeah,
Prescott Bush, and it's in this point 35 on the FBI, because Prescott Bush was his SS name in Germany. His name was George H.W. Scherf Sr.
that's it.
He was an assistant to Tesla, and Tesla called him like an idiot of an illegal immigrant. He knew then, you know,
Curious George, yeah.
but
Mhm.
and Curious George, the son, was George H.W. Scherf Jr., and he was in the Navy at 16 in Germany before he came to America.
Wow.
And Kennebunkport wasn't a family compound, it was an infiltration center of Germans coming into America. That's all of Operation Paperclip came in through there. They only served German food. All of this is documented with photographs and everything. And I summarized a lot of it in this particular point 35. I think it's chapter 18 in the new book. But I've been talking about this family since book 4 because I said, Father, I'm not getting how the Germans came in and did all of this. And he said, well, it's all in print. And I'm like, well, where is it? And he said, Idaho Observer. And so I look up Idaho Observer and he goes, go to archives. So I went there and then he said 2007. So I went there and then he said, go to April. And there's a whole series of articles and I put it all together in a PDF. And all that information is in the reference center of the new reference section of the new book. And then in the chapter, I give you the picture of Prescott Bush because he was also in our Senate. And when he was realized by Eisenhower to John F. Kennedy, and I'm sorry if I've never mentioned this before, but that George H.W. Scherf Sr., Prescott Bush,
Mm,
used that name to be in our government. And so they had sanctioned all of his industrial money that they made. They made all this money by shipping all of the patents and et cetera of Tesla over to Germany. And that was mainly what he did. And then he left the country for 4 days. And then his son with Bormann, and everybody heard about Bormann from Germany. The two of them are the two that are supposedly responsible for Tesla not being here anymore. Then Scherf comes back and is shocked that Tesla's dead. And then everything got turned over to a very interesting man, John Trump, who was, I think, at MIT, famous professor, I believe, at MIT. And so he got the Tesla technology that didn't get sold to Germany.
right.
So, but Prescott Bush met with President Kennedy and AG Robert Kennedy in September of 1963. And he had to sign a document. They wanted him to sign a document saying none of this family will ever be in our government again. So he signed that document. And then in November, the head of the team in Dallas, Texas, was supposedly George H.W. Scherf Jr., again, not adopted. And I think I sent the family picture. I mean,
Okay,
the
so he
family
wasn't
picture,
adopted. He was actually part of the family, but the family name was changed. I got it.
the family name. In fact, they used both names. So they used Scherf with one F and with two. So that's why in all the articles, it's CHSCHERF parentheses F parentheses, because they operated under both names. But everything they did was and was in Germany. But on page 336, I don't know if you want to pull up your Kindle, there's a picture of Prescott Bush. And then if you look at the very next page, there's a picture of George H.W. Scherf Jr., son of Senior, who went by Prescott Bush. But only in America did they go by Bush. Only in America. And so, but that was the SS name when George H.W. Scherf Sr. Was in the SS with Hitler during World War II.
So are you talking about the An Eternal Plan, or which book are you talking about?
In an Eternal Plan,
Okay.
page 36 has Prescott Bush,
Oh, page
and
36.
then
Okay.
336, and then 337 has his son, George H.W. Scherf Jr., who was our 41st president. And then Father had me put in his whole background. So if he wasn't supposed to serve in our government, he served in our government all the way through. And then when I get to the Hoover part of that FBI section, did you know that Hoover, only person he debriefed on November 23, 1963, the day after Kennedy was shot, the only guy he debriefed on that day was George H.W. Scherf Jr. They look a lot more similar to each other when they're at those kind of the same ages.
Right. Yep.
George, George H.W. Scherf is a little younger than where his dad was, but that's his dad.
Hmm.
And they were both born Germany. Barbara was born Germany. German
Wow.
parents, German, the whole lineage is at
Unbelievable.
the,
So they had no right to be in the presidency. That's incredible.
no, no,
Wow.
no. And there's no documentation about them.
Oh my
There's
God.
no
This,
documentation
this is
about
a
Hoover.
this is an
There's no
amazing
doc.
reveal. Look at that. Oh my God. Wow.
You
So
see
I
how
thought I
similar
thought
they
you know
look?
I've seen other stuff on this, but this is far more insightful. Wow, incredible.
I've never shared these together like this. I never shared the George H.W. Sheriff. I did put Prescott Bush, I think, in book 5. It was book 4, I'm pretty sure, that I first had the picture of them with Otto Skorzeny is the article in the Idaho Observer. Otto Skorzeny was the right-hand guy to Hitler during all of World War II.
Mm,
And Otto Skorzeny had a shoebox of photos.
right.
And he had just shared them with a guy that wanted to marry his daughter because he said, look, I don't want any problems and I don't want you to have any problems and I don't want to have a problem with you. So I'm going to give you this whole history. And if you still want to marry my daughter, then we can have that conversation.
Hmm.
And so he brought out this shoebox, and in the shoebox is one family photo. And Otto Skorzeny's in the back with Joseph Mengele and other people in the back. And then Borman is with George H.W. Sheriff Sr.'s mother on the piano bench with Borman. And Borman's in his Navy uniform. This is all taken in Germany in the
Wow.
30s, 38, I think. And then George H.W. Sheriff Jr., he's sitting in his Navy uniform. Okay. And then in front to the side is this guy that went by Prescott Bush in America, sitting with his wife, the father and mother of George H.W. Jr.
Did
And
you
has
did
everybody
you put any of those
identified by
pictures
name.
in the book?
That picture is in the book too. Let me see if I can find where that picture is. It should be near here.
Let's see.
It moves on to other. Let me click. Oh, I don't want to do that. Let me send you. I'm so glad because see, we can talk about these things, Michael. There's so many people that I don't know if we should go into this, but the truth is the truth. You
Oh
can't
yeah.
you can't change the truth.
I think I may
You,
have seen this photo. Someone else shared it with me.
I'm gonna click share screen right now. Now pray for me because I don't think I've ever done this before. Okay, so share screen, and then I can go to my desktop. Maybe how do I do this? Okay,
Yeah,
so it says phone or iPad, iPhone or iPad. That's not me. So how do I do this? I have to find it. Okay, let me make this smaller. Okay, and then I'm going to go into and then what I have to do is put it on my desktop and then pull it in to share it, right?
right.
Right. Okay. Because it's so exciting because you can see them in Germany in a room all sitting together. Okay, I'm going to put the color one. Now the color one has the names, but the brown scale is the one they're going to see in the article. Oh.
So that would be interesting if
So
they
that would be interesting.
you got a little background noise, so I'll just wait.
If okay, if it what?
So that would be interesting if this is proven, which in my opinion, it's proven, then all of their administrations, everything they did can be removed. Bills they they signed,
Yes.
just kind of like what happened with Biden. So we know that Obama was basically controlling his administration. So the auto pen stuff, all of that stuff, in my opinion, I think they're moving in that direction, can be basically removed.
Yes. And all of these things that they did without taking an oath,
Yeah.
that's what people don't realize yet. Did you know that all the people, and that's judges? Did you know all the judges that did all this? The J6 judges, the DC judges, the federal judges, did you know they're not taking oaths either? Todd Callender filed that case April 18 of 23. So I'm really excited as to what lays before us because they think they all got away with it. But that's why it's so exciting when the president said, we've got it all and we caught them all.
Yeah.
And all these cases are sitting there. And if you don't take the oath, you can't make a law. You can't take any money. You can't take a salary. You can't sit in a position. You can't make any decisions. You can't be on any committees. You didn't take the oath to the Constitution. That's what they don't understand. They didn't take the oath because they didn't want to get caught. Now, how do I, okay, now I'm back to share. Okay, so when I share,
You hit share, and there's a little button down at the bottom that says share, and just
yeah,
there you go.
okay,
Okay, it says you started screen sharing.
okay,
There we go. So just bring something up on your screen that you want to bring up. Yeah, you got it.
okay. So I'm bringing up, I have two pictures.
Nice.
Is it coming up?
Not yet.
Okay, so let me come over here and expand this. And if I could do half of what you can do on this stuff,
Like
um,
me, you got like a ton of information on there, but
well, this is one of the pictures. I'm trying to open up one of the pictures into the screen, but I'm
yeah,
not even seeing me on the screen.
if it opens on your desktop, it should
Okay,
pull up
so
now.
stop. This is what I'm trying to open.
Hmm.
Okay. Um,
I see you're clicking on it, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be opening on the desktop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to click new share and see what that does.
So this is amazing. So all of what you're talking about is available. The public can actually look at this. So who at that point, pushes this forward into like revealing, that these people were illegally in positions of power. And that's the because if once you start that process, then it's going to be a domino effect, and there's going to be lots of people that are going to fall out. So you're looking at like you're talking about, trees and charges and so forth. Let's don't get lost, Sheila, so she'll be back. But you're looking at trees and charges for a lot of these people, and that's treason. That's long prison sentences probably, and or execution, depending on severity or what they did. Now, I would think that if you knowingly came into the position of the presidency, knowing that you should not be serving in that position, and you promulgated laws and you started wars, which both of those presidents, both of the Bushes started wars and so forth. That's probably executable offenses there. So you're going to, of course, Bush Senior's gone, but the record could be, we could push the record that he, caused incredible harm to our country instead of being some kind of maybe now. I don't think a lot of people think he's a great president. I don't. But some people may still believe that he was a great president. But going forward, I think we could, for the record, start to remove them out of those positions of dignity and put them in positions of way less than dignified positions of having served. Because now we're looking, oh, there you go, you got it. There you go, you got it. Yay, good job, Sheila. So you see Joseph Mengele right there. And there's George Scherf, Sr. and Jr. Otto Skorzeny, Morton Bormann. So wow, you get the top people of the Nazi organization, and they're hanging out with them like family. Unbelievable. So yeah, that's the problem with these people. So here you go, guys. We're basically, proving that these guys are, extremely corrupt. And where do we go from here? Do we, like I said, hold them accountable on treason charges? What do we do? I'd say we just basically, uh, try them. So I stopped you share. Hopefully we can get you back in the picture and talking again. So, so yeah, there's your book, your books are basically revealing this. You know, God gives you insights, sends you on these great information hunts, and you get all this great information. You've had tons of this information in the books. Uh, going through the books, you're like stunned with all the information is there. But with you talking about this information, Sheila, it really brings it to life and a greater understanding. Just how corrupt a lot of these figures are. Like you said, uh, you're revealing that all of these people, most of these people in the last several years, over the last several decades, should not have even been in those positions of power. And we've seen some very corrupt things happen, during there we go.
I just got it fixed. Okay, get back on there. I'm on with this brilliant producer that keeps me up to date. I guess I can't screen share. I tried, but
Oh, you
but
did actually.
isn't
You
this amazing?
you
And
had
all the
the
articles are in there.
pictures of and I, while you were kind of out, I brought it up and I brought it into view. So yeah, all those Nazi figures, and then the Bush senior, junior there, uh, with all those Nazi figures, Bormann and
But
crazy.
they never lived as Bush.
Yeah,
That's just what the name they gave us. You see what I mean?
yeah.
And that's why to them, the infiltration of all of these people, this is what they always do. They moved the Native Americans off the East Coast and then brought in all of their people and then gave them things all across our country and brought in more people.
Hmm.
It's only our relatives that had to sign in at Ellis Island and come from a town and have all of our criminal record completely cleared. And if we had any debt, it had to be cleared. All of our stuff had to be documented. To this day, they want us to document, document, document. And
Yeah.
that's another fun thing today because did you know that Newsom, they're just saying he's in trouble? It was back in 2018 when we did those real IDs. And did you know that the DMV director in California allowed all of the illegals to get the same watermark real ID? And Americans are spending all this money bringing in copies of birth certificates, certified marriage certificates. If you got a divorce, you had to bring in a certified copy of that. If you got married again, you had to bring that. You had to, if you went to a maiden name or any other name, you had to bring the legal documentation for that. Did all of this stuff.
Hmm.
And they said after 38 years, it's a shame that the real ID confusion in the department caused her to step down and resign. They didn't even, but here's the other side of it. They've never cleaned it up. All these people still look like they have real ID to be in America. And they do that for illegals. They would never allow that for illegal American. And that's why this chapter, I just thought it'd be fun today because it relates to all of this. It relates to what we just went through in the election. It relates to these illegal people. And that picture is one of the pictures from the shoebox that Otto Skorzeny provided to him. And the guy's an investigative reporter, and he gave him all the lineage. You'll see all the lineage of the Walkers, of the Pierce family, the Walker family, the Scherf family. You'll see all of these and how they're all tied in together. He did all of that, and I put all these articles together in one PDF and then provided all the documentation in the reference section.
Hmm. Wow. Now you talk about how the Indians were, moved off the East Coast. Andrew Jackson,
Mhm.
although he was great, he went against the bankers. I think it was Andrew Jackson that they tried to impeach. Uh,
Mc,
was
McKinley Jackson, I don't know if they tried to do Jackson because he did their bidding. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. They said
Yeah, but
McKinley is
it
one that,
appears, war hero, New Orleans war hero. Kept
yeah.
kept the British out of New Orleans, and then eventually, he's elected to office, and he stopped the banksters from coming in
Mhm.
and starting with the Federal Reserve. Would eventually, get under Wilson. That's other everything other than him forcing, the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee Indians and all the rest of the Indian, pushing them out of lands that they had been in,
Mhm.
obviously, for generations of generations, but before the Americans even came, the
Mhm.
Pilgrims came, and they were integrated into society. They were great, intermarried and all kind of crazy stuff, and then he like forced them out. It's crazy.
Well, they had to do that because they knew the truth. And if you think back in those 1800s, because I shared some pictures, I think it's back up in the family situation about compulsory school, up in the earlier points, which are the older points, the 41 to that kind of stuff. Um, the school bus was led by a horse in 1912. The roads in California were built out of lumber and braced out of lumber. The coastal road in California was all lumber in 1912.
Hmm.
So when you
Wow.
think about how did these people get around, it would take days. I mean, it took 5 days for my great great grandfather to use a buggy and get my great great grandmother over to Iowa to see relatives from Nebraska.
Jeez.
And people don't realize that and how this would happen. So the reason why to get him on the other, that was his third goal. But it's so awesome what you were saying because that's how he did it. Same, that's why I think Trump is honoring him. You do the tariffs. And then that straightens these things out. So he balanced the economy, did the tariffs, and then
Right.
his third goal
He was
was
one of
get
the
all the Native Americans.
only presidents in history that had a balanced budget, actually had a
Yeah,
surplus. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and
But
that's why they did that Andrew magazine. But the thing that's so bad, he knew in our Constitution the president had to enforce the win that the Cherokee got in the Supreme Court. And he refused to. He said, if Justice Marshall wants them to not go, let Justice Marshall enforce it. And he knew Justice Marshall had no opportunity per our Constitution to enforce it. It's only the president who can enforce a ruling for the benefit of the people
hmm,
because it's just an opinion, a ruling. We've been operating like it's law, and that's wrong too. But that's in another chapter. So, but all of this has been so profound as to how all of this has unfolded,
yeah,
and people had no idea, just no idea. And when you look at George H.W. Scherf's two brothers, they had all these jobs in the government, and they were in all of these societies. They were all in the Order of Malta. They were in Skull and Bones. They were in George W. His son, who is a son of two German parents, he became president. And he was in Skull and Bones. It's but all of this came from Europe. Not every They said it was new in 1864. They said it was an idea, and that Lincoln wanted us to do it. And none of this is true. Lincoln would never have wanted a secret society of all of what happened in Europe. He never would have wanted any of this in America. But
hmm,
they always say, like the Soros brand, we're going to be charitable. You're going to benefit. and it's all fraternal. We're all here for each other as brothers and sisters. And that's the mimicry, mockery of being together as believers and being great to people and being charitable to people and being fraternal with people and not getting it from anywhere else. Our Congress has been paying all of this. All of this is an act of Congress. Everything they set up with all these organizations is an act of Congress. They were
Wow.
granted land grants. The biggest one is in Springfield, Missouri. And in Springfield, Missouri, it takes up at least 2 blocks, if not 3 or 4. And you got the castle, and then you got the military armory, and then you come around the corner and you see the National Guard armory, and then you see a Boys and Girls Club, and then you see a ball field, and then you see daycare facilities with the daycare behind it. And then you see this big White House. And we went ahead and drove behind to see what it said. And on the back, it had a neon sign, "Enter here." It was yellow on a blue sign of neon, and the whole house was boarded up. And then the whole rest of the land in the back is all Evangel University, which is a seminary for Assembly of God. And they gave them all that land for $1 as a land grant. You and I can't do any of this, but we weren't granted the money or the land. It was grant. That's where the 10 square acres in 10 square miles, I think it is, that they have as their sovereign land in DC, how they set it up as a District of Columbia in America. So that was a big land grant and made their own sovereign soil. Well, that's what they did with all of these castles in all of our states, is they gave them this land grant. So Evangel University is a seminary for Assembly of God, and Assembly of God Church is there. So the whole university is there. And we've been paying for all of this, guys. I mean, we've been paying for all of this to happen, all of this to be set up, and all of it's pretty much to groom your children. And it's a really sad status. And you come past the church and you come back around the corner toward the castle, and you see a 5-point building where they do all administration. And there's a 5-point, just like the Pentagon. Do you know what I
That
mean?
that ties in. So I have this woman that I do shows with, Lynn Scott Hagerman. She talks about how as a child she has memories of how they would take children underneath the universities and the university hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
and there were underground facilities where they would be sold to
Mm-hmm.
bidders, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to go in that direction with our conversation, but there was some very, very shady stuff that was going on there. So that kind of ties in to what you're talking about here. Wow.
Well, Bob Jones University in South Carolina,
Hmm.
he was a high noble in the Knights of Pythias. It's on the memorial pages. And people who graduated from there went, "Oh, it wouldn't be Bob Jones. He's a Christian and he wouldn't be doing." He's a high noble in the Knights of Pythias. The only way you can get the money for this, if you look at all the universities, where do they get the money? All of this is being funded, and all of it, the castles do the same thing. They have tunnels underneath. The kids go down there. They actually have what was it in olden times? And they had the bars over the windows. It's like a jail, and you are a jail, but it's the whole backside of the castle. When you drive around and see the backside of the castle, it's like I would say a brig, like a military brig, with all these iron bars over the windows. So why would they be? But they're over the Sunshine Boys, Sunshine Girls. They had seniors living there. So the elderly and the children. And what are they still focused on? What the status for the elderly and the status for the children? Um, Same thing.
So Bob Jones, are you talking about Bob Jones? The,
There's two
is he
Bob
real estate?
Jones. Bob Jones University is one Bob Jones, and then there
Right.
was Bob Jones, a prophet. And
Hmm.
Bob Jones, the prophet, with Arthur Burt and John Paul Jackson, pulled away from Kansas City prophets, who are still in trouble to this day. Mike Bickle and those guys that are over Kansas City prophets. Now the truth's coming out about them, the same as Robert Morris and all. There's a whole bunch of people that are going to be revealed. But Bob Jones, that Robert Jones, Bob Jones, is a prophet, and the one over the university is the one that's the high noble. You can't get that kind of money. You can't get that kind of structuring unless you get them involved. And so once you accept the deal, it's the same in the military. It's the same when you accept the deal and you got to follow their instructions. When you accept the deal in Hollywood and you got to follow their instructions, it's the same thing in the churches and in the universities. And that's why Harvard president and wife and King and Queen of Sweden and Prince and Queen in England were all getting COVID on the same day. Isn't that amazing how not just you get it, your spouse gets it, and it's all on the same day.
Hmm.
And
And
they were all taken out of their residences all on the same day.
because I think I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but my dad used to work for Bob Jones Realty in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina.
I wonder, because the university's higher up than that, somewhere around, is it
Yeah,
Greenville or,
right.
but South Carolina was overtaken because Charleston, South Carolina is where Albert Pike brought all the 33rd degree Masons from around the world. And his right hand guy was a politician in Italy named Giuseppe Mazzini. And Mazzini in 1860, in 1871, he came and set all this up with Pike. And a Lutheran pastor from Switzerland came. And those are the three guys that set up the world order moving to Charleston, South Carolina. Now, their castle for the Knights of Pythias looks like a little toy castle. It's a little white one. It's got cutesy little flags up in the corner. It's completely different. The one in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, is huge. It's all granite. It's what I think is their main, they talk about it as their main one. But you can look up your state. When I gave a tour, some of us that were at Doug Billings' event when I spoke in June, that would have been June 23. When we did that, afterwards, I said I was going to go look at the castle, but I didn't want to look at it by myself. So they went with me. And the gal from Wisconsin, there was one Minneapolis, one Wisconsin, the rest were all from Chicago. And they were all laughing, thinking this can't be real. But they had an event and they had the road cut off. And as the people were leaving, they'd have to get out of their vehicles and move the chain. So we were being gracious to move the chain for them. Angry faces, didn't thank us, didn't say anything, just angry and just tore out, as soon as we moved it, just tore out of there. They all had medieval costumes on. It was very,
Wow.
very interesting. And
Mm.
it was on a Sunday afternoon, but whatever. So the gal from Wisconsin said, I just can't imagine something like this in Wisconsin. I mean, I don't know how Missouri has it, but maybe it's just the one in Missouri. When she got home and looked it
Is
up,
that I'm looking it up online. Is that the Pythian Castle?
yep, Knights of Pythias.
Okay, let me share the screen on that. Wow. Knights of Pythias. Yep. Absolutely.
And the castle in Wisconsin it's less than 3.5 miles from her house in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Tour Springfield's incredible Pythian Castle. So it's got this looks pretty interesting. Children explore the basement of Pythian Castle. So I wonder how actually deep it goes. So that's very interesting.
Well, and they've got to have movement because there's no way to get from the castle over another block and a half over underneath that White House that's all boarded up. But
Yeah.
it says enter here if you're coming, enter here if you're coming from the outside. It's just it's the crazy. But guys, this stuff is real. Giuseppe Mazzini started the Italian mafia in 1860. So none of this is new. It all comes out of the Khazarian business plan. All of this stuff is identical. It's all identical, and it just gains different names. It's just like if you go way back in history to the Ark and Nimrod being a great grandson of Noah, he being the only righteous one. His mom was Semiramis, and he was Nimrod, but he was deified in Egypt. They get different names as they get deified in these different areas. So they're used to carrying and living under different names. It's not brand new for Prescott Bush to operate as Bush in America, but anywhere else he is in the world, he's his real name. Because all of these guys that came from Germany that are the top guys, did you know they all have ranches in South America? I thought, this is
Yeah.
just really kooky. And God said, go ahead, look it up. And so I did. So I looked up, is there a Bush family ranch in South America? And I'm pretty sure it was Paraguay. And I don't even know which part of South America that is, but they have a landing strip and a house is what they've got. And so they were business consultants all over the world because they said Hitler went to South Africa, and his main guys were in South Africa, and are not South America. And so they're all in South America, and that's how they're coordinating, and they're charging to be business consultants around the world. And that's how George H.W. Scherf Sr. became how did he, out of anybody in the world, become the guy who was Tesla's right-hand guy, controlling a handler of Tesla? And you can see in the pictures when Tesla was older, he was starved to death. I mean, he was so
Oh,
gaunt.
yeah.
It was horrible. But then you look at Thomas Edison, and that's not in this book. That's going to be in book 7. Thomas Edison of the Ancient Society Theosophical that became eugenics, that was the Georgia Guidestones under the Order of Malta. You see what I mean? But all of these are the same people in the same memberships, and they're just in all these different groups. And then they operate under all these different names. And when you go to these, it's just like it's in the Shriners. They're called noble, and then your last name. So when I was in Macon, a guy came to a church and he took over the youth group, he took over the men's breakfast, he took over all of these things, and he comes and he's Masonic. As soon as they gave him all these jobs, he came in a Masonic with a Masonic hat, baseball kind of hat, with all these symbols on it. One Sunday, the very next Sunday, he came in a Shriner shirt. It said Noble James. His last name was James, and so it said Noble James, and then his hat. And the pastor had no idea what he was representing. I said, he's letting you know you just gave him all these positions over your youth, over the men, over everybody, and he's in all these societies.
Yeah, wow. Incredible. So, I mean, this goes all the way back to a lot of this stuff goes back to England.
Mhm.
Uh, my wife Tracy and I, we went to Glastonbury, and we saw, King Arthur, his grave supposedly there, and Queen Guinevere. Of course, uh, I think it was Henry VIII, basically, did away with the Catholic Church and started the Church of England. So a lot of these uh, places were destroyed, Glastonbury being one of them. So we stayed at the pub that was across the street from Glastonbury Cathedral, and we were told that there was tunnels that went underground to the pub so that the monks could like leave and come over and enjoy themselves and
Mm-hmm.
partake of the females and so forth. But there was rooms there. We stayed in the rooms, fabulous. So hundreds, 1,000 years old, crazy. This
Mm-hmm.
pub, and so this history has come to America with these castles, like we were just
Mm-hmm.
showing. But the connection to Britain and the control that Britain still has over America, and
Mm-hmm.
breaking that control is, I think, one of the things that the Trump administration is doing.
Are you seeing the funny thing about the ballroom?
Exactly.
The ballroom, they're digging so deep. I went, that's very deep to dig to do a ballroom floor. Why are they digging so deep? They're
Foundation. Yeah. Well, it's going to
finding
have some
all
really
the
good foundation.
tunnels. Yeah, all the tunnels are, and is exposing
Yeah.
everything. I get such a kick out of President Trump, and he's so casual about all of it. It's just, don't worry, you guys aren't going to pay a dime. Did you see the list of who's paying? It's an alpha order of all the corporations where the CEOs had to step down 2 years ago at
Mm.
the end of the year. And so it's all of those corporations, and it doesn't miss Facebook, it doesn't miss Microsoft, it doesn't miss Amazon, it doesn't all those corporations when they had all the transition of all of those leaders having to step down from their corporate presidential roles. All they're paying for this ballroom, but they're paying for all the digging to get rid of all of these tunnels. Because
Yeah.
these tunnels, a lot of them, they said, even because it's always been a vice president. I don't remember that much about a vice presidential house until there was so many problems with Kamala and her and having this vice president's home in DC. But
The Naval Observatory.
supposedly they go to their homes, these tunnels.
Yeah. Of course they do. Yeah. So, wow. How about that? And it's supposedly there's a grid system there in DC as well that's basically destroying demonic grid system.
The goat symbolism is destroyed. The two flagpoles started the process
Right.
when he
Right.
did them way out where he did them and how he put them. It's not the same worship center that it used to be. So
Wow.
people thought we'd have to tear everything down. I don't think they are restoring the Lincoln Memorial to tear it down. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense they would tear down the White House. It doesn't. And I do think because there is supposed to be a location in Texas where the Secretary of the Treasury is going to be with the Treasury, and that is a bullion reserve in America. And so maybe that is going to happen because that's supposedly built in Temple, Texas. Several people have confirmed that who live right in that area. And one of the guys on the building team told me about it before the guys who live in Temple, Texas. So that could be happening. But at a minimum, they have to save it as history. So when people were furious about, and this is all happening in the past couple of weeks, President Trump is redoing the Albert Pike Memorial statue. And why is he doing that? The guy was a 33rd degree Mason, and people are so funny because Masonic is the bottom. They're not even crediting the fact that he created or he brought in America Odd Fellows. He brought in the Scottish Rite Temple. That's their worship center. All of the shapings and everything come out of all of that. And then he started the KKK. And
Yeah.
that's why there's a picture in the book of a Cherokee female chief, and she happens to be a Black person. People are like, how did that happen? I said, because they were here for centuries. They were in the Middle East, so they were darker like the Arabs. They're lighter and lighter over time. Even the Aborigines, you can see who's the families get lighter and lighter as they marry into other families. But when
Mhm.
they're just Aboriginal, it's a very, very dark color. And so people are just like, how could this be true that they're the native tribes and they're of a darker skin? And I said, why do you suppose they call us white man? Why do you suppose they call us pale face? Why where do you think those names came up? Because they hadn't seen people as light as we were because of where they lived and where they came from, and they stayed within their own tribes. And so we have so much to learn. We have so much to learn that has been a complete lie in our country.
Wow.
It's just
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah, I've been with some other people that have been disclosing that the some of the tribes from Israel came here to America, and so that makes sense. That's why the native cultures are so dark skinned, some of them. So wow.
They went to all of the uninhabited lands. That's in the Apocrypha. And there's a good guy. I can't even compare. They have a little red hardback. But sorry, it's like a 5 point. So who wants to read that one? That what they pulled from the 1611 Bible, the King James Bible. And so please don't go out and buy a King James Bible and think you're going to see the Apocrypha, because there's nobody that can get a 1611 anymore. And so they pulled it out in 1804, same time they were moving the Native Americans off our land. In 1804, they're over there as a British and Foreign Bible Society removing books from the Bible because they don't want you to know these things. They don't want you to know about Kofefe, which is in the ancient book of Enoch. And they don't want you to know about, what that these came, but they came to all the uninhabited lands. There were only 70 little nation areas over there that had people residents because there was no way to get around anywhere. I mean, I don't even know how many centuries they had maps that had dragons, where is the unknown, you know? So it just took a long time. And that's why I think we went through 43 on takeover before we're self-governing. They knew exactly what to do, exactly what to set up to put us in this position. And it was Jefferson, and to what you were saying just a little bit ago, Michael, is that Jefferson knew you cannot, once they start corrupting all of this and operating the way they operate over, they've used identity theft to take over every rulership of every nation, and they did it to us. We haven't had American born people in control of this country for generations. And that's our Congress. They were all in agreement, guys, for killing Abraham Lincoln. And who killed him? Knights of Pythias. And so John Wilkes Booth and the team, and that's all in this particular chapter because it was all a setup to get rid of him. They had just started the Republican Party. So when people say now you want to be in this party or this party, you don't want to be in either one of them. It's all the same people who all came here to do this to us. So people are shocked. Right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is brand new to people.
Right. So this was I love oh, did I miss what happened? There it is.
There it
All right.
is.
So I love this one. We talked about this before, but I think it really comes into play now during
Mm-hmm.
Veterans Day. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just that's Grant. Of course, we know that basically this was a dividing line between the constitutional America and then, when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Then after that, it seems like after that, not too long after that, this traitorous group came in. So Ulysses S. Grant, there are but two parties now, traitors and patriots. Uh, and if we are to have another contest in the near future of our national existence, I predict that the dividing line will not be Masons and Dixons, but between patriotism and intelligence on one side and superstition, ambition, and ignorance on the other side. Now, we look at the way the voting has been going. It seems like we're at that dividing line between people that are ignorant, superstitious, and then the patriots and people that have critical thinking on the other. What are your thoughts?
That is exactly what it is. It goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War. When you brought that up, I don't think I put it in this book, but it's in my other books, the book series. Samuel Adams, one of the best patriots, because what happened with Ulysses S. Grant, and we have a U.S. Grant Hotel in downtown San Diego because they thought so much of what he
That's
had
right.
done. But in 1870, he signed in because once you become a president, you got to do what they want you to do, or they kill you, your family, burn your business down. It's the same for everybody. If you don't taint the food on your business, if it's a food business, we burn your food business and kill your family members. And nobody's going to know because they're not going to know what happened to you. And so this is what Samuel Adams said. It's one of my favorite of his quotes. If ye love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down, lick the hands which now feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget the ye were ever our countrymen.
Mm,
I love that quote by him because that's the Revolutionary War, and that is exactly where we are in any day, any time. You choose, I just want to be comfortable. People just wanted to go back to normal. And that's why I said, you don't want an ounce of normal. You don't want an ounce of where we've been, because that's how we got here. And look at what it has taken just to show the people what we've been dealing with,
yeah,
because we don't get together as true speakers because they made us a silent majority by killing everybody who speaks the truth.
yeah,
So what kind of people are they? And you want to be in their council, and you want to be living with them, and you want to be operating like they do, well, then you made your choice. We're
yeah.
we're going a different way.
And we've talked about that. I mean, both of us have been targeted for destruction.
Mm-hmm.
They've tried to kill us many times. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so during COVID, that was where a lot of people just let me have my freedom. I just have to take the shot. I'll take my freedom. But that was basically being enslaved, like you were just talking about. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that. They were saying, whatever it takes, keep my job, be with my family, get out of the house, go to the
Mm-hmm.
concerts, whatever it takes, so sad. But now we're at that point again where I just saw this one show with Tucker Carlson and a guy that was talking about the chemtrails. So that he was talking about how the chemtrails are destroying not only us, killing us, but also plants and
Mm-hmm.
the bee population is almost completely gone. If the bee population goes, then we lose all these crops and so forth. So there's a movement to kill us off. And then I believe they know that we're going through earth changes. The earth
Mm-hmm.
changes. The sun is like just kicking all this energy at us. All this electromagnetic plasma energy is coming at us as we're speaking right now. It should be impacting us within the next several hours, and it's going to cause major disruption on the earth. Uh, Maybe we won't be able to have shows for a while. maybe we'll have these massive earthquakes that happen every time this massive influx of plasma comes. Right now, it's looking like Japan is going to get a massive earthquake with this influx of energy. So they know this. They have been controlling a lot of this, not completely control it, but maybe taking it to another level of destruction capability. We've seen this year was one of the first years that we have not had destructive hurricanes. So it seems like this technology that's been used against us, somebody or some group has gotten control of technology that keeps that from impacting us. So we're having all these different things that are going on right now, impacting humanity. We know that this death cult is trying to destroy us, trying to destroy humanity on a massive scale, uh, dumb us down, kill us off so that we're manageable. Where do you think this goes in the future?
Depopulation down to 10%. That's that's what the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
500 million people on the whole planet. I mean, really? That's depopulation from every angle, every layer, every process, everything they've done to us, and we did not have any idea that it was going to go down this slippery slope.
Yeah.
And they had us there. I mean, there are no natural fiber fabrics, whether it's for you to wear or for upholstery or for carpeting or for anything. Everything you're breathing in, everything is blends. All of this is against the plan as a believer. And so what they did was take everything that was promised to us and do everything they could to destroy it without us realizing how bad it was. And the chemtrails are ruining the soil. They're already finding that some of the soil may never recover.
Yeah.
And so even if you use heirloom seeds, it's going to be corrupted, being raised in the soil that we have on the planet.
Hmm.
And so I don't know what they're doing to eat. I don't know where they're getting their things. Is it all in Antarctica? I don't know. I've never been anywhere near Antarctica. I'm not into ice. I grew up in Nebraska. That was enough. Blizzards and ice. And so I don't know. But it's unrealistic to think that's what they could do. But just like we had a Tesla, so they had a Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was a president of the Theosophical Society. So that's why he won and got all the funding, even though it was a lie, and put us into all of this, pay for all this energy and electricity and everything when we shouldn't be paying anything. We shouldn't have been putting up all these wires. We shouldn't have been paying for all this stuff. But the only way to keep people paying for their own utilities to give money to the elites is to put us down a different path. We didn't know that they were destroying the people that were trying to give us the things that would have helped us. How would you guess? I mean, how would you be ahead of every technology in front of us and be ahead of it and know that that's what we needed, and so let's support Tesla, let's not support Edison? How would you know? It's just we have been living in really, really crazy times. But how amazing is it that we're able to get to the point of sharing the truth in these days, because there's a promise in scripture that there will be a generation that doesn't taste death, that boom, end is it. And yet there will be people who will not taste death. It'll be like Elijah and Moses. You'll rise up and you won't be on earth anymore, and that's it. And you won't go through this whole death process. So it's on my list. I don't know if that would be one of them, but it's on my list. I would prefer that, because being in a box and underground, I don't know. Anyway.
I think, we've come to this point many times throughout history where the earth has been destroyed, and catastrophism was part of our understanding for a long time. And then we had Charles Darwin come in. Of course, he was part of Masonic group that basically wanted to, push out new information that was controlling and did away with catastrophism. So we, throughout history in the biblical, text and so forth, there's catastrophes have happened. You just over and over and over again throughout history, catastrophes come. But I think it's dependent on our consciousness. If our consciousness is at a certain level, then I think we can bypass it, or maybe start a new timeline. And then there's another group that continues on the other timeline. I think we're at that separation. My wife Tracy talks about how there's one passage where two men will walk in the fields, and one will cease to exist, and the other will continue. I think that's where we're at, where we're going to basically see a parting of the ways. Those people that like General Grant was talking about. Uh, there's patriots, and then there's treasonous groups, and it's not really that they understand themselves as treasonous. They're just uninformed and superstitious and so forth. Uh, so that's where we're at. You, I, and other people. We have the critical thinking. We can see the things that are coming. We're trying to inform people the best that we can, keep people calm, keep people focused, work through all these issues. Some people just give up. When I talk about some of these things, I see a lot of the comments, and people are just like, I just don't care anymore. It's like, well, then yeah, I won't say that you're part of the problem, but you obviously won't be part of the team that goes forward, because we have to work together to overcome these challenges, and that's a key. From my background, being in SEAL and the CIA, and now with you and other people, where we're working together to inform people, you have to there's some people just going to deny it. Some people are going to like, like I, you and I, and probably many other people were like, don't get the vaccination, but 80% of people did. And it's you don't have critical thinking. You don't work with a group, then you don't go forward. I've been with like these high performance groups, and I feel like there's a lot of humanity right now that are ready to move into high performance, and are to a certain extent on that level. I look, we're live on YouTube. There's quite a few people watching, although I didn't promote this. The title doesn't have what we're talking about, doesn't have you in it. Because if I put you in the title, probably would have got shut down. But
Mhm.
it's something that a lot of people want. They want this information, and some people aren't going to come along, I don't think.
It's do you know it's been for all time, because there were the Aztecs and then they were gone, but more people came in. Then there were the Mayans, and on a critical point, which they knew, they were gone. The same thing happened in Hawaii. I used to go to Hawaii every year. I told people I had to go there to get my raw sugar, and then they said, "But Sheila, they're selling it at Vaughn's grocery store now." And I went, "Oh, they are." So I had this excuse, and now I don't have it anymore. So, but there was one trip I took where friends wanted to go with me, and we took a helicopter ride over Kauai. And I think that was the one that the family Robinson purchased as missionaries. And then the king's like, "How do I get my land back?" But he didn't know what they had done. He thought they were paying them to be part of it or become part of what was going on. He didn't know he was giving up the whole island.
Wow.
And the original people kept moving further and further north, according to the helicopter pilot. And they just kept, and he swung around there several times. And he said, "Look how miraculous this is, where they could be in these cave areas and closed in areas and etc." And then all of a sudden, it was like within 24 hours, they were just gone. And they didn't go on boats, and they didn't just go in the water, and they didn't, what I mean, they were just gone.
Interesting.
So, but you're hitting on all cylinders with there will be a time when it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. When Lot told and his wife said, "Well, can't we have like 50 people? If we can get 50 people, won't they save it?" So then it got from 50 to 30 to 20 to 10 to, and and then when he said to his two son-in-laws, had two daughters, two son-in-laws, and they knew the angels were at the house. And the people in the community wanted to know who those strange people were that were at his house. And I'm telling it as simply as I can, and as brief as I can, because it's really where we are, is that he went to his two sons, and they were in the pub. They were with their friends. They were having a great time, and they knew the angels were in the house. They knew the time was close. A little different than where we are today, but we're pretty close to having that time. And he went in, and they said, "No, we're having a great time and everything's fine. Why are you so worried?" Because they get comfortable. They want what they think is normal.
Yeah.
And then boom, in that night, as they walked away from Sodom and Gomorrah, two communities, the whole thing burst into flames. And the wife doubted and turned back. And that's what is so funny to me, that Father had me do not just a fear not, it was going to be called a fear not devotional, because I'm like, people just aren't standing up anymore. And they're like, oh, how are you coming through all this horrible stuff, Sheila? I said, God hasn't let go. I'm coming through. And they said, but I don't know how you're able to do this. And I said, because there is nothing, the things that are bigger than me are not for me to handle. So it's bigger than me for Trump to handle what he's handling. It's bigger for me than Cash to handle what he's handling. And I'll just take a brief moment for Cash and Pam Bondi. Guys, they don't have many people they can trust. Keep
Yeah.
them in prayer. They
See,
got a lot of stuff they got to clean
thank
up.
you.
It
Thank
takes time. You want them to clean stuff up, and they haven't even been in their positions more than a few months. Really? And you
you.
want them to change this whole thing and bring justice back and have all these court cases handled? I don't want one of them to get off on a mistrial. I don't want one of these people to get away and walk the streets again.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. I don't care. How long it takes is how long it takes. So anyway, back to the truth of
I
where we
also
are.
want them to stay alive. So I
Exactly. A bounty on their
love all the,
heads,
yeah.
and on the
Now
cabinet members.
back to Lot,
Yeah.
you know, the people of the town gathered around his home and wanted to be with those angels. And those
Yep.
angels did a little, what's that one show or that one movie where Men in Black, where they come out and go, "Chee," and everybody
Yep.
goes
And you
like,
forget it all. Yep.
yep. And that, so then they walk through and walk through the crowd. No one, molested them. And then he goes up
Uh-huh.
into the caves, and there's obviously, something happened where his wife goes out to look back and she turns into a pillar
Mm-hmm.
of, salt. Sounds
Mm-hmm.
like a atomic bomb went off. And
Mm-hmm.
where that area was, they actually went in, and there is high radiation areas. And it looks like there was a piece of land that was blown, and part of the sea came in and basically took out Sodom and Gomorrah. So very interesting.
But that happened in Georgia when they did all this to the Native Americans in Georgia. The guy that became the governor of Georgia, Bibb, um, and now Bibb County is where Macon is. So that's where God stuck me for the first 15 months while my car was still in California, trying to tell me what all I was going to be doing. And so by then I wrote 5 books in 2014 and 6 books in 2015. So I thought I was done. And at that point, Father's showing me that he then, because he was a high noble in the Knights of Pythias, he went over and became the territorial governor in Alabama. Well, where was he raised? And this is, I'm pretty sure, in my first book, could be the second, but I think it's in my first book. God had me put the sign of the town where he was raised that is now completely underwater. People can once in a while see a horseshoe or a brick or something, and it's Clark's Hill Lake is now filled in. The whole thing got destroyed, okay, because
Wow.
they built that town when they came from Europe. They built that town on funeral mounds of the Native American Indians. And
Ooh,
so when it sunk, then the water came in and they had no town. And so
wow.
it's not just happened in a couple of areas, but we don't really look at these things. If Father hadn't pointed all that out to me, and that's why I thought when I come out with that first book in the series, well, I'm going to be done in Georgia. 3 years I've been here. Little did I know. But anyway, that book and that summary of all of that development led to this new book. Everything that they had done, because Georgia was named after King George III. And when he did all of this, and he was the architect of it, as soon as they won in 1820, as soon as they were going to be able to stay in Georgia, that was the opportunity they took to take out King George III with arsenic. And then in 26, Jefferson and Adams. In 1831, they took out Monroe. They just kept taking out the people
Hmm.
who were then like, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean?
That's interesting
But
because, yeah, Jefferson and Adams both died on the same day. Wow.
our 50th anniversary, and on our 55th, I mean, the exact day on our 55th, Monroe, because it
Wow.
was in 1820 that Monroe came out with the Monroe Doctrine. And I remember hearing about it in school, but none of this history ever, and it's probably because
Yeah.
somewhere we know that it wasn't the truth. History was just
Yeah,
like
I thought it
not,
was like that's too much of a coincidence. There's some fishy about that.
yeah, yeah. And so, but what's really amazing is we had no idea because Jefferson was fighting the centralized banks in 1791.
Hmm.
And he was the one that formed the Marines and sent them to the shores of Tripoli.
That's right.
And then as soon as they take him out, they bring in Charles Joseph Bonaparte and put him in as the Secretary of the Navy. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean? So they're always removing who's making it happen and replacing them with people who are going to destroy this country because they've never ever, and that's why you hear this from them. They don't like America at all. They don't want to be here. That's why President Trump keeps saying, if you don't want to be here, you can leave. And
Yeah.
these are people who are here illegally and they're criticizing and coming against our country. You can leave. But you heard
Absolutely.
about the Venezuelan thing that just is happening right now. It's now over 600,000 deported.
Wow.
They did 260 in one, and then they just kept going. And what they did was they ended their temporary visas.
So you think these are the bad hombres that came here, or was it just they were sending the good people back to Venezuela?
We're sending them all back because we're
Oh,
straightening out. Our guys are on the forefront, the front lines, taking care of Venezuela, making it available for people to go home. Because see, when they did that with
wow.
Saddam Hussein, why didn't I mean, we have entire communities in San Diego that are the Chaldeans and from Iraq. And why do we have all these communities of these people who wanted to get out from Saddam Hussein? He was hung within a few months, and they're all still living off of our Section 8 housing. They built all new townhomes for these people. Our retired people in San Diego are on a wait list for a remodeled apartment complex. It's not good. I don't want to. I could have words for it because I was in development with AVCO for a few years as an HR director. And when you know development, and then you see where these seniors are put to live, if you can't afford the regular housing, then they put you in Section 8. It's horrible. It's
Oh,
absolutely horrible. And they were building new townhomes, and people were asking me how to get Social Security numbers because they weren't leaving. And then they were asking because they were filling out the forms for Section 8. And not only did the couples get Section 8, who aren't even senior age, they got them for their aunts, their uncles, their and spouses. They got them for their grandparents and spouses, their parents and spouses. Every one of them got individual townhomes that were built brand new in Section 8 for those people. I don't know, I'm gonna say illegal. It's just happened in America again and again and again. We got all the Shah's people, and they all said they were Persian, and they came in and they all got these advantages. None of this is new that we're dealing with right now. Since Vietnam, we got all of those, and then we got the people from the Philippines, and then we got the Shah's people. All of that's in one little decade, part of one little decade, because I think Vietnam fell in 1776, was it?
something like that.
1976,
Yeah.
because the lines for gas and stuff were 73. So but all of this was under Carter, then with the hostages in Iran. I mean, all this stuff that they've never cleaned up. And so our guys are in trouble everywhere, and their people get to come here and have all the benefits that we won't even give our veterans. And so since we're on Veterans Day, I'm so upset that the majority of people who are homeless as Americans are our veterans.
Yeah. And the rate of suicide is just over the top. I've seen that the suicide rate is like 22 a day, and I've heard from a lot of uh, professionals and people that are working in that community. They say it's like double that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty disheartening to think that 44 veterans are committing suicide a day. And there's no reason for that. There's no reason for one person. That's easily, there's lots of different ways to overcome that. And we know that they want to end people dying of, illnesses, Agent Orange. I just talked to a guy. Uh, he was he was coming into Vietnam, and there was a huge explosion. He said they were integrating him into. He was going through processing into the country, and there was a huge explosion, and shrapnel everywhere, and gases, and all kind of crazy stuff. They didn't know what it was from. He didn't find out until decades later that they had blown up a the Agent Orange gas canisters that were using to you know do the jungle and so forth. And of course, American veterans are in those jungles too. But it blew up on that base, and lots of these guys were exposed to it. He didn't even know it till like decades later when he goes in and is like, "Oh, you've been exposed to Agent Orange. What and this? When did this happen?" And they had like suppressed it and all kind of crazy stuff. And he's had to have his jaw and his tongue operated on, and had to take a piece from his tibia and from muscles and to help replace his tongue, all kind of crazy stuff. The guy's a stud, he's a Marine. He's like, us veterans, we know how to deal with pain, but still, they even told him that your DNA could have been affected by the Agent Orange. So there's been people that have been exposed to Agent Orange. Their children's children are being born with, kind of crazy stuff. So he was really scared that his grandchildren, but I guess his grandchildren weren't affected. But it's it's another crazy thing that, can you trust our government? No, on really no level. It's insane. And on Veterans Day, I salute, and I'm thankful for all the veterans that are out there. But we are heavily suppressed, and we are heavily disadvantaged. Homeless veterans, veterans PTSD like crazy, commit suicide like we're talking about. It's sad, very sad.
And it's all happening on our watch.
Yeah.
It's all while we're here to help each other. And that's what makes it so sad. The J6 guy that we're going to help, Andrew Hernandez, I can't find him. I can't get him by phone or email
Mm.
since he was pardoned. We don't know what happened to him. But
Oh,
here's a guy that was a medaled Marine, served, honored many times for his service. But because of J6, his family departed from him because he was going to have to serve a prison sentence. So they felt he was a criminal in some way to go to prison. And so his family pulled away from him. His wife pulled away from him, got a divorce from him, took the children in full custody under just her. And so he had nothing to come home to.
mm.
And that's what you just how they were treated, and then boom, what just happened on BBC? Did you see where BBC was now revealed that they took part of Trump's first part of his speech about will go up there and meet with the real people who are serving you in the Capitol, and then in a different part of the, like, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes later, he said, we're going to fight for our freedom and our rights. They the news department took those two sections and made it as though he said it all in one fell swoop at the end of his speech. And so today it just came out that the newscaster who did that, now she wasn't embarrassed back then in 21 or 22 or 23 or 24 or 25 until now it's been revealed that she did that. She was part of this. So she stepped down over the weekend and wanted people to know that BBC is a stellar news corporation and blah, 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 blah. And she made her own personal decision to step down. Well, when these people are in the club, they never lose their income. That DMV director in California who was confused about Real ID when they were supposed to be handling Real ID and they were telling us what to do about Real ID. They never lose their income. They just moved her over to the Secretary of Transportation.
Wow.
And so when they do this, they don't lose their job. So she's saying all these glowing things about BBC as she's walking away from the building. I just decided over the weekend that I just don't want this to impact BBC because they're a wonderful news operation, blah, 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 blah. and they knew what they did. And as a newscaster, if you're going on air, you know what's coming up on the teleprompter. You know what those pictures are that are coming up. That's what I was going to be doing with ABC in San Diego, and God pulled me out of that. In the medical industry, and he pulled me out of that after being in human resources, and he pulled me out of that, and then trying to handle work comp, and he pulled me out of that. But it was, I got to see all of these things of where this country is in order to talk about it now. I never would have guessed. I never would have guessed. But it does not compare to one day of what you guys have gone through for the sake of our country, and then come home and find out your families weren't even protected while you were gone. That everybody was vulnerable because all of our fighting men were elsewhere in the world. That's
Yeah.
why I hope it's really going to happen where all those bases get closed down. Every country defends themselves, and we stay as a Department of War, and we get
I'm
concerned
so
about
glad you
what's
said that
happening in
because
AAA.
I didn't know how I was going to work that in, but I feel that, we are going to pull our troops back and we are going to defend America from the domestic
Mm-hmm.
enemy that has infiltrated. Now, General Flynn just recently, he was on a show where he was talking about Alex Jones, where he's talking about over the next 90 days, they're going to release uh, thousands of attacks across America, and in their attempt to destroy America forever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about that. We've warned about that for a long time. But this is the same thing we've said about, COVID, like we talked about before. 80% of people didn't
Mm-hmm.
listen. So how many people have listened? I've been talking about this for 5 years. I said that
Mm-hmm.
get out of the big cities because we're probably going to lose a lot of those big cities. So we're going to see these attacks coming. A lot of people are now, beating that drum and trying to wake people. We're in the last hours of it, the last days before
Mm-hmm.
these things start. So I believe very strongly that President Trump has already started to preemptively push troops into positions, like we've seen with the National Guard in some locations, uh, forming groups that will be quick reaction force, QRFs, that will move very quickly into areas that will need them. But you're looking at millions upon tens of millions of potential combatants here in the United States. In
Mm-hmm.
our military, I think all of the military combined is a couple million, and only a fraction of those are fighters. The rest of them
Mm-hmm.
are service oriented. So it's going to depend on American veterans going forward, and that's one of the reasons why I think they have really come after American veterans, taking away benefits and so forth. And like you were talking about that one gentleman that was at J6, they went after a lot of veterans that were there. So fortunately, I was not part of that. So, but
Mm-hmm.
I was threatened quite a few times on shows. Oh, you're a
Mm-hmm.
J6? Oh, we need to get somebody to come investigate you. And in
Mm-hmm.
chats and so forth. It's pretty crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
that has gone to the wayside for the moment, hopefully forever. But yeah, I think we're gonna. This is a great day. I've seen probably an outpouring of support for American veterans like I've never seen before on this day. The day before, people were saying, Happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service. I think it's going to become very, very prominent to a lot of people going forward. How fortunate America is to have kept their Second Amendment rights and have lots of veterans out there that are ready to serve still.
We're very fortunate, and the ones who kept so steady during the midst of all of that, because they had no way to help their families, no way to save their homes, no way to save their businesses, no way to have an income when they got out, no way to get a job when now that they're out. Um, we got to start standing together. And what
Yeah,
they sacrificed for us, and then the way they were treated, and they focused on SEALs, Green Beret,
yeah, it really
top
did.
Marines. They focused on putting them in prison, and look at how many took their lives, went to other countries
Mhm.
because they just couldn't believe that their country was going to do this to them.
Yeah.
So a lot of healing is necessary. But now making people aware of it, and that's why I'm so grateful for you, Michael. You've really stood the ground and talked the people into this area is needing assistance, this area is needing attention. I'm so grateful that you keep doing that, because when you make people aware, it means something to them, because they know you're not just saying it. You're saying it because you have seen this happening to our people, because you have when you're in that kind of training for SEALs, etc., you have an understanding of personalities that other people can't catch up with. But when you mention it, they know what to watch for. You see what I mean? So you're mentioning this is where this thing is going sideways, and then people go, wow. And then they get active and they go, well, maybe I can do something about that. And that's what we all need to do for each other. So I just thank you so much.
Well, I thank you too, because your perspective has helped broaden my observational skills in a lot of different areas. So we are a team, and I think that going forward, that's going to be very important that we support each other, like you're saying. Now, let me share the screen again. You have an amazing website. I love your little Shirley Temple look back
That's
then.
really me at 4. That is
I
really, it was a
know
black
it
and
looks
white and he
exactly.
colorized it.
Did people say that you look like Shirley Temple? I'm sure they did.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't, I mean, that curly, wavy hair was all natural. It,
That's
I
beautiful.
have 7 different cowlicks, and when I lost all my hair after Linwood, it all grew back different, and I have cowlicks and different. I mean, I'm trying to get used to my hair, but at least I have some. They said I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, you've gone through a lot. You've been on the brink, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people around you didn't make it, but definitely God has designs for you and good things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have a great books. You have interviews in here. It's You're doing a lot of incredible work. Your store has your books in it. I You can get the books on Amazon. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but you can access them here. This is the one that I pointed out earlier, a Warrior's Battlefield Strategy Devotional. So there's enough in here for a whole year of just read, keep reading, make your notes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go back, I'm like, wow, I've learned a lot here. So,
Yeah,
you
when
know,
you go back to a previous week, it's like a big difference, isn't it?
it really is. It's just pretty impressive. After, being in this for well over a month now, uh, probably going on 2 months, there's a lot that I've learned. So
Mm-hmm.
very, very good stuff. All your books are like this. Uh, I have these books. I've been through these books, but sometimes you have to go through a book several times. So
Mm-hmm.
hisbest.org
Mm-hmm.
to reach Sheila's site. And, absolutely incredible show as usual, Sheila. Uh, I'm just honored and thankful for the stuff that you share with all of us.
Well, we got through about 5 pages. We were going to look at FBI today. We got through about 5 pages. I think it's the biggest chapter. I didn't go back and check. It's over 60 pages for the FBI chapter, just not because they came against me, not because they tried to destroy me, but it just, Father gave me more about, it's been in the 4 and 5 books a lot. But when we got to this book, and it just like everything came around full circle, and it's just like,
Oh,
oh
wow.
my God.
Well,
But I have
maybe
a
we can
surprise
do
for
another
you.
show in
Yeah.
the near future. We've
Yeah.
been on the go for a while, but we're kind of settled now. So maybe the next week or two we can get back and go into more detail on some of that. That'd be great.
Awesome. I've been invited to President Trump's America First Policy Institute group. I
Wow.
was going to go to the gala next week, and they invited me to come the whole week for the strategy session. So I'm so
Oh,
honored. So
God, thank you. I
I'm going
hope
to have to
so.
be in Florida weather instead of last night. It was 35, but feels like 26 in Georgia. So it's going to be nice. But I have a surprise for you. I did this and forgot to tell you guys. If you click on the website and then click on the interviews page, we changed the whole thing. And it's a surprise for you if you want to peek at the interviews page, because it's caused people to do marathon watches of our interviews because they can it's I had them design it. I had the new admin guy that I've only had for about 3 weeks. I had him go in and redesign it. So it's like looking at YouTube and you can see the interviews right there, and then you just pick and choose and it goes on for pages. And so you don't have to go to links, you don't have to do any scrolling through. You just see it on the page, click on it, and it's automatic access to your Rumble or YouTube channel, whatever link you give me. That's the link they're going to go to. And so it's really fun. So that's your brand new surprise I brought you today.
Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. So you're full of surprises. You're full of information, and I hope everybody goes to your site. And I know they love you when they come on the show. So this will get massive views as it normally does. You're my top view on my channel. My new, I would say my new, but my coming back to YouTube. They've missed you, and so I bring you back. I guess in YouTube. I know other people have you on YouTube as well, but it's been great. I really appreciate you
Mhm.
coming on and sharing your information.
Well, I'm so blessed. And everybody loves when we come together because look what happened today. We were going to do just FBI, but everything that's happening currently relates to all of these things and about our military. And so, and we were the only ones that covered that whole military letter. People are still talking about that and
Ah,
still wondering, but I said, you guys, we've got to bring everyone back to the Constitution. And
mm,
so I said, but they're really going to fire military people? And they already have. Monkey Works did a show the same day we were on. Well, no, it was the next day because we did it the day before they met, and the day they met, there were all of these going out the back door, getting on the flights, and going down to Gitmo. He was tracking all the flights. It just there's a lot more happening than what we realize. Um,
totally.
and that's, yep. So I'm just so honored to have this time with you because you get all of it and you make it so easy for me. I thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on. Thanks so much. We'll look forward to the next one. All right,
Yep.
everyone. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next time. Fantastic.
You are.